CLEP Introduction to Educational Psychology Memory. Question 1. From this example, where students start feeling nervous after a certain chime is repeatedly paired with a pop quiz, which answer should Ravi select? Option A, metacognition. Option B, constructivism. Option C, classical conditioning. Option D, operant conditioning. The correct answer is option C. Classical conditioning. This describes classical conditioning because a neutral stimulus becomes linked with an emotional response after repeated pairings. Metacognition is not the best choice because it concerns thinking about one's own thinking, not learned emotional associations. Constructivism is different because it explains active meaning making, not a reflexive conditioned response. Operant conditioning does not fit because it focuses on consequences after behavior rather than associations before a response. Question 2. Students in a classroom discussion discuss why a teacher adds praise after a student participates and participation increases. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, punishment. Option B, positive reinforcement. Option C, negative reinforcement. Option D, extinction. The correct answer is option B. Positive reinforcement. This describes positive reinforcement because a desirable consequence is added after a behavior, making that behavior more likely. Punishment is not the best choice because it aims to reduce behavior rather than increase it. Negative reinforcement is different because it removes an unpleasant condition rather than adding a reward. Extinction does not fit because it weakens behavior by withholding reinforcement. Question 3. Teachers in a quick quiz review wonder why students complete homework early to avoid a weekly reminder call home. Which principle applies? Option A, positive reinforcement. Option B, negative reinforcement. Option C, classical conditioning. Option D, response cost. The correct answer is option B. Negative reinforcement. This describes negative reinforcement because a behavior increases because it helps the learner avoid or remove something unpleasant. Positive reinforcement is not the best choice because it adds a pleasant consequence rather than removing an unpleasant one. Classical conditioning is different because it involves stimulus association rather than consequences shaping behavior. Response cost does not fit because it removes a privilege after misbehavior. Question 4. Can Ravi treat a student receives an extra cleanup task after throwing paper and the behavior decreases as evidence of which concept? Option A, shaping. Option B, negative reinforcement. Option C, positive punishment. Option D, positive reinforcement. The correct answer is option C. Positive punishment. This describes positive punishment because an unpleasant consequence is added to reduce an unwanted behavior. Shaping is not the best choice because it builds behavior through small reinforced steps. Negative reinforcement is different because it increases behavior by removing something unpleasant. Positive reinforcement does not fit because it adds something desirable to increase behavior. Question 5. If Ravi must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a teacher rewards each closer attempt as a shy learner gradually speaks louder in class? Option A, extinction. Option B, fixed ratio schedule. Option C, shaping. Option D, reciprocal teaching. The correct answer is option C. Shaping. This describes shaping because successive approximations are reinforced until the desired behavior develops. Extinction is not the best choice because it reduces behavior by removing reinforcement. Fixed ratio schedule is different because it reinforces after a set number of responses, not gradual progress. Reciprocal teaching does not fit because it uses student-led reading strategies rather than behavior building. Question 6. Rather than guessing, Ravi should connect a teacher stops laughing at off-task jokes and the jokes slowly fade away with which concept? Option A, modeling. Option B, punishment. Option C, extinction. Option D, spaced practice. The correct answer is option C. Extinction. This describes extinction because a previously reinforced behavior decreases when reinforcement is no longer provided. Modeling is not the best choice because it involves learning by watching others. Punishment is different because it adds or removes a consequence to reduce behavior more directly. Spaced practice does not fit because it improves memory through distributed study sessions. Question 7. Curiosity rises when Ravi reads that a learner keeps answering review questions because bonus points appear after unpredictable numbers of correct responses. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, fixed interval schedule. Option B, fixed ratio schedule. Option C, variable ratio schedule. Option D, variable interval schedule. The correct answer is option C, variable ratio schedule. This describes variable ratio schedule because reinforcement occurs after an unpredictable number of responses, which often produces steady responding. Fixed interval schedule is not the best choice because it rewards the first response after a set amount of time. Fixed ratio schedule is different because it rewards after a predictable number of responses. Variable interval schedule does not fit because it rewards after changing time intervals rather than response counts. Question 8. A CLEP style scenario says students work hardest right before a quiz that happens every Friday. Which answer best captures it for Ravi? Option A, token economy. Option B, fixed ratio schedule. Option C, fixed interval schedule. Option D, variable ratio schedule. The correct answer is option C, fixed interval schedule. This describes fixed interval schedule because reinforcement is available after a predictable amount of time has passed. Token economy is not the best choice because it uses symbolic rewards exchanged for privileges. Fixed ratio schedule is different because it depends on a set number of responses. Variable ratio schedule does not fit because it depends on unpredictable response counts. Question 9. Inside a mini lecture, Ravi studies why a child copies a classmate's polite hand raising after seeing the classmate praised. Which concept fits? Option A, insight learning. Option B, observational learning. Option C, classical conditioning. Option D, trial and error learning. The correct answer is option B, observational learning. This describes observational learning because the learner changes behavior after watching another person and the consequences that follow. Insight learning is not the best choice because it involves a sudden solution, not imitation. Classical conditioning is different because it links stimuli rather than modeling behavior. Trial and error learning does not fit because it depends on personal attempts and feedback rather than watching a model. Question 10. Looking at the clue that a student with strong belief in personal ability chooses harder practice problems, which idea should Ravi remember? Option A, external locus of control. Option B, self-concept. Option C, intrinsic motivation. Option D, self-efficacy. The correct answer is option D, self-efficacy. This describes self-efficacy because the learner's belief in their capability affects effort, persistence, and challenge choice. External locus of control is not the best choice because it attributes outcomes to outside forces rather than personal capability. Self-concept is different because it is a broader view of oneself, not task-specific confidence. Intrinsic motivation does not fit because it refers to interest or enjoyment, not belief in ability. Question 11. Ravi sees that a learner's confidence, classroom behavior, and teacher response all influence one another during a bright review class. Which concept best explains it? Option A, classical conditioning. Option B, norm reference testing. Option C, maturation. Option D, reciprocal determinism. The correct answer is option D, reciprocal determinism. This describes reciprocal determinism because personal factors, behavior, and environment interact in a two-way pattern. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it focuses on learned stimulus associations. Norm reference testing is different because it compares scores to other test takers. Maturation does not fit because it emphasizes biological growth rather than social interaction cycles. Question 12. When Ravi notices that a teacher gives sentence starters at first and slowly removes them as students improve in a quiet study group, which idea is being tested? Option A, scaffolding. Option B, standardization. Option C, summative assessment. Option D, extinction. The correct answer is option A. Scaffolding. This describes scaffolding because temporary support is provided and then withdrawn as learners become more independent. Standardization is not the best choice because it keeps testing procedures the same for everyone. Summative assessment is different because it evaluates learning after instruction is complete. Extinction does not fit because it removes reinforcement to reduce behavior. Question 13. During an online prep session, Ravi studies a case where a learner can solve a problem with hints but not yet alone. Which term fits best? Option A, mastery learning. Option B, zone of proximal development. Option C, reliability. Option D, formal operational stage. The correct answer is option B. Zone of proximal development. This describes zone of proximal development because the task sits between independent ability and what the learner can do with support. Mastery learning is not the best choice because it requires reaching a performance standard before moving on. Reliability is different because it concerns score consistency, not learning support. Formal operational stage does not fit because it describes abstract reasoning, not support level. Question 14. In a morning lesson, Ravi asks why a child calls a zebra a horse because it fits an existing animal category. Which answer names the idea? Option A, conservation. Option B, encoding. Option C, accommodation. Option D, assimilation. The correct answer is option D. Assimilation. This describes assimilation because new information is interpreted using an existing mental schema. Conservation is not the best choice because it is understanding that quantity can stay the same despite appearance changes. Encoding is different because it is getting information into memory. Accommodation does not fit because it changes the schema to fit new information. Question 15. After reading that a child changes the animal category after learning zebras are not horses, how should Ravi label the concept? Option A, assimilation. Option B, rehearsal. Option C, accommodation. Option D, class inclusion. The correct answer is option C. Accommodation. This describes accommodation because an existing schema is revised when new information does not fit. Assimilation is not the best choice because it would force new information into an old schema. Rehearsal is different because it is repeating information to maintain it in memory. Class inclusion does not fit because it involves understanding category relationships. Question 16. For a short exam review, Ravi connects a child solves conservation tasks but struggles with purely hypothetical logic with which principle? Option A, pre-operational thinking. Option B, sensoromotor thinking. Option C, concrete operational thinking. Option D, formal operational thinking. The correct answer is option C. Concrete operational thinking. This describes concrete operational thinking because children can reason logically about concrete objects but not fully abstract possibilities. Pre-operational thinking is not the best choice because it often lacks conservation and logical reversibility. Sensoromotor thinking is different because it centers on infant sensory and motor exploration. Formal operational thinking does not fit because it includes abstract and hypothetical reasoning. Question 17. Could a case where a teen reasons through a hypothetical justice problem without needing physical examples be an example of which concept for Ravi? Option A, formal operational thinking. Option B, pre-operational thinking. Option C, object permanence. Option D, concrete operational thinking. The correct answer is option A. Formal operational thinking. This describes formal operational thinking because abstract and hypothetical reasoning are key features of this stage. Pre-operational thinking is not the best choice because it is marked by symbolic thought but limited logic. Object permanence is different because it is an infant understanding that objects still exist when unseen. Concrete operational thinking does not fit because it works best with tangible examples. Question 18. Why would Ravi link an infant searches for a hidden toy instead of acting as if it disappeared to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, centration. Option B, egocentrism. Option C, object permanence. Option D, conservation. The correct answer is option C, object permanence. This describes object permanence because the child understands that objects continue to exist even when out of sight. Centration is not the best choice because it means focusing on one feature while ignoring others. Egocentrism is different because it involves difficulty taking another person's viewpoint. Conservation does not fit because it involves understanding quantity despite appearance changes. Question 19. A practice item tells Ravi that an elementary student gains pride from mastering reading and classroom skills. Which concept is most likely? Option A, industry versus inferiority. Option B, trust versus mistrust. Option C, generativity versus stagnation. Option D, identity versus role confusion. The correct answer is option A, industry versus inferiority. This describes industry versus inferiority because school-age children build competence through successful work and feedback. Trust versus mistrust is not the best choice because it centers on infant caregiver reliability. Generativity versus stagnation is different because it focuses on adult contribution to others. Identity versus role confusion does not fit because it is mainly an adolescent search for personal identity. Question 20. Before answering, Ravi identifies that a teenager explores values, careers, and beliefs to answer who they are. Which term should be chosen? Option A, industry versus inferiority. Option B, autonomy versus shame. Option C, intimacy versus isolation. Option D, identity versus role confusion. The correct answer is option D, identity versus role confusion. This describes identity versus role confusion because adolescents work toward a stable sense of self and direction. Industry versus inferiority is not the best choice because it focuses on school-age competence. Autonomy versus shame is different because it describes toddlers building independence. Intimacy versus isolation does not fit because it usually involves young adult relationships. Question 21. Which choice helps Ravi explain why a student says cheating is wrong because rules and community expectations matter in a learning lab? Option A, post-conventional morality. Option B, moral realism. Option C, pre-conventional morality. Option D, conventional morality. The correct answer is option D, conventional morality. This describes conventional morality because moral reasoning is based on social approval, rules, and maintaining order. Post-conventional morality is not the best choice because it uses broad ethical principles beyond rules. Moral realism is different because it treats rules as fixed and unchangeable. Pre-conventional morality does not fit because it focuses on rewards and punishments. Question 22. How can Ravi classify a classroom moment where a child avoids lying mainly to escape punishment or earn a reward? Option A, post-conventional morality. Option B, conventional morality. Option C, pre-conventional morality. Option D, identity achievement. The correct answer is option C, pre-conventional morality. This describes pre-conventional morality because moral decisions are driven by personal consequences such as punishment or reward. Post-conventional morality is not the best choice because it reasons from abstract principles and rights. Conventional morality is different because it emphasizes rules and approval from society. Identity achievement does not fit because it describes commitment after exploration, not moral reasoning. Question 23. Suppose Ravi observes that a student argues that a rule should be challenged when it violates basic human rights. Which concept is shown? Option A, post-conventional morality. Option B, learned helplessness. Option C, pre-conventional morality. Option D, conventional morality. The correct answer is option A, post-conventional morality. This describes post-conventional morality because moral reasoning is guided by universal principles rather than simple rule following. Learned helplessness is not the best choice because it concerns giving up after repeated failure. Pre-conventional morality is different because it focuses on personal gain or punishment. Conventional morality does not fit because it generally supports rules and social order. Question 24. While reviewing, Ravi sees a teacher plans choices that include music, movement, language, and spatial design. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, multiple intelligences. Option B, working memory. Option C, norm reference testing. Option D, G factor. The correct answer is option A, multiple intelligences. This describes multiple intelligences because the approach treats ability as varied across different domains of strength. Working memory is not the best choice because it is a limited mental workspace. Norm reference testing is different because it compares learners to a group. G factor does not fit because it emphasizes a general intelligence factor. Question 25. One interesting clue says an assignment asks students to solve problems, create products, and apply ideas in daily life. Which educational psychology term fits for Ravi? Option A, fluid intelligence. Option B, triarchic intelligence. Option C, criterion reference testing. Option D, multiple intelligences. The correct answer is option B, triarchic intelligence. This describes triarchic intelligence because Sternberg's model highlights analytical, creative, and practical intelligence. Fluid intelligence is not the best choice because it refers to novel problem-solving ability. Criterion reference testing is different because it measures performance against standards. Multiple intelligences does not fit because it lists broader domains such as musical or bodily kinesthetic abilities. Question 26. From this example, where a learner studies child development because the topic feels genuinely fascinating, which answer should Ravi select? Option A, performance goal. Option B, intrinsic motivation. Option C, negative reinforcement. Option D, extrinsic motivation. The correct answer is option B, intrinsic motivation. This describes intrinsic motivation because the behavior is driven by interest, curiosity, or enjoyment of the activity itself. Performance goal is not the best choice because it focuses on looking competent compared with others. Negative reinforcement is different because it increases behavior by removing something unpleasant. Extrinsic motivation does not fit because it depends on outside rewards or pressures. Question 27. Students in a quiet study group discuss why a student completes extra practice mainly to earn a gift card. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, intrinsic motivation. Option B, self-regulation. Option C, mastery goal. Option D, extrinsic motivation. The correct answer is option D, extrinsic motivation. This describes extrinsic motivation because the behavior is driven by an outside reward rather than the activity itself. Intrinsic motivation is not the best choice because it comes from interest or enjoyment. Self-regulation is different because it involves planning and monitoring one's learning. Mastery goal does not fit because it emphasizes learning and improvement. Question 28. Teachers in an online prep session wonder why a learner chooses difficult questions to improve understanding even if mistakes happen. Which principle applies? Option A, performance goal. Option B, fixed mindset. Option C, mastery goal. Option D, avoidance goal. The correct answer is option C, mastery goal. This describes mastery goal because the focus is on growth, learning, and skill development. Performance goal is not the best choice because it focuses on proving ability or outperforming others. Fixed mindset is different because it treats ability as unchangeable. Avoidance goal does not fit because it focuses on avoiding failure or embarrassment. Question 29. Can Ravi treat a student studies mainly to score higher than classmates and appear smart as evidence of which concept? Option A, metacognition. Option B, intrinsic motivation. Option C, mastery goal. Option D, performance goal. The correct answer is option D, performance goal. This describes performance goal because the learner is focused on demonstrating ability relative to others. Metacognition is not the best choice because it involves awareness and control of thinking. Intrinsic motivation is different because it centers on enjoyment or curiosity. Mastery goal does not fit because it centers on improvement and understanding. Question 30. If Ravi must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a learner explains a failed test by blaming effort, task difficulty, luck, or ability? Option A, attribution theory. Option B, classroom ecology. Option C, constructivism. Option D, information processing theory. The correct answer is option A, attribution theory. This describes attribution theory because it examines how people explain causes of success and failure. Classroom ecology is not the best choice because it focuses on classroom environment patterns. Constructivism is different because it emphasizes building meaning from experience. Information processing theory does not fit because it explains how information moves through memory systems. Question 31. Rather than guessing, Ravi should connect a student stops trying because repeated failures made success feel impossible with which concept? Option A, positive transfer. Option B, self-efficacy. Option C, growth mindset. Option D, learned helplessness. The correct answer is option D, learned helplessness. This describes learned helplessness because repeated uncontrollable failure can reduce motivation and effort. Positive transfer is not the best choice because it happens when prior learning helps new learning. Self-efficacy is different because it refers to belief in capability, not resignation. Growth mindset does not fit because it supports belief that ability can improve. Question 32. Curiosity rises when Ravi reads that a student treats mistakes as evidence that a skill can improve with strategy and effort. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, fixed mindset. Option B, entity theory. Option C, growth mindset. Option D, external attribution. The correct answer is option C, growth mindset. This describes growth mindset because ability is viewed as developable through effort, feedback, and better strategies. Fixed mindset is not the best choice because it treats ability as stable and hard to change. Entity theory is different because it is another way to describe fixed views of ability. External attribution does not fit because it places causes outside the learner. Question 33. A CLEP style scenario says a hungry, unsafe student struggles to focus on a challenging lesson. Which answer best captures it for Ravi? Option A, classical conditioning. Option B, Kohlberg theory. Option C, Maslow hierarchy of needs. Option D, Bloom taxonomy. The correct answer is option C, Maslow hierarchy of needs. This describes Maslow hierarchy of needs because basic physiological and safety needs can affect readiness for higher level learning. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it explains learned stimulus response associations. Kohlberg theory is different because it describes moral reasoning development. Bloom taxonomy does not fit because it classifies cognitive learning objectives. Question 34. Inside a teacher training scenario, Ravi studies why a student loses track while solving a long mental math problem with many steps. Which concept fits? Option A, sensory memory. Option B, working memory. Option C, long-term memory. Option D, procedural memory. The correct answer is option B, working memory. This describes working memory because working memory is the limited mental space used to hold and process information temporarily. Sensory memory is not the best choice because it briefly holds raw sensory input. Long-term memory is different because it stores information over extended periods. Procedural memory does not fit because it stores skills and habits. Question 35. Looking at the clue that a learner recalls a teaching theory studied weeks earlier, which idea should Ravi remember? Option A, selective attention. Option B, long-term memory. Option C, working memory. Option D, sensory memory. The correct answer is option B. Long-term memory. This describes long-term memory because information retained over time is stored in long-term memory. Selective attention is not the best choice because it filters what receives mental focus. Working memory is different because it is temporary and limited during active thinking. Sensory memory does not fit because it lasts only briefly after stimulation. Question 36. Ravi sees that a student turns a new vocabulary term into a meaningful example to remember it during a learning lab. Which concept best explains it? Option A, encoding. Option B, retrieval. Option C, validity. Option D, extinction. The correct answer is option A. Encoding. This describes encoding because encoding is the process of getting information into memory in a usable form. Retrieval is not the best choice because it involves pulling stored information back out. Validity is different because it concerns whether a test measures what it should. Extinction does not fit because it weakens a learned behavior. Question 37. When Ravi notices that a learner closes the book and answers questions from memory to strengthen recall in an after-school class, which idea is being tested? Option A, centration. Option B, summative assessment. Option C, retrieval practice. Option D, massed practice. The correct answer is option C. Retrieval practice. This describes retrieval practice because actively recalling information improves later memory more than simply rereading. Centration is not the best choice because it means focusing on one feature of a situation. Summative assessment is different because it evaluates learning at the end of instruction. Massed practice does not fit because it compresses study into one long session. Question 38. During a student coaching session, Ravi studies a case where a student studies the same concepts in short sessions across several days. Which term fits best? Option A, shaping. Option B, norming. Option C, massed practice. Option D, spaced practice. The correct answer is option D. Spaced practice. This describes spaced practice because learning is distributed over time, which usually supports stronger retention. Shaping is not the best choice because it reinforces gradual behavior changes. Norming is different because it creates comparison data for a test. Massed practice does not fit because it packs study into one concentrated period. Question 39. In a mini lecture, Ravi asks why a learner links a new theory to personal classroom experiences. Which answer names the idea? Option A, elaboration. Option B, extinction. Option C, rote rehearsal. Option D, reliability. The correct answer is option A. Elaboration. This describes elaboration because new information is made more meaningful by connecting it to existing knowledge. Extinction is not the best choice because it removes reinforcement to reduce behavior. Rote rehearsal is different because it repeats information without adding meaning. Reliability does not fit because it refers to consistency of measurement. Question 40. After reading that a student groups a long list of theorists into behaviorist, cognitive, and social categories, how should Ravi label the concept? Option A, chunking. Option B, overlearning. Option C, response cost. Option D, accommodation. The correct answer is option A. Chunking. This describes chunking because information is organized into meaningful units to reduce memory load. Overlearning is not the best choice because it continues practice after initial mastery. Response cost is different because it removes a privilege to reduce behavior. Accommodation does not fit because it changes a schema to fit new information. Question 41. For a short exam review, Ravi connects a student, checks which topics are weak and adjusts the study plan with which principle? Option A, metacognition. Option B, automaticity. Option C, classical conditioning. Option D, extrinsic motivation. The correct answer is option A, metacognition. This describes metacognition because the learner monitors and controls their own thinking and learning strategies. Automaticity is not the best choice because it means a skill requires little conscious effort. Classical conditioning is different because it involves learned associations. Extrinsic motivation does not fit because it depends on external rewards. Question 42. Could a case where knowledge from a statistics lesson helps a student understand test reliability be an example of which concept for Ravi? Option A, negative punishment. Option B, transfer of learning. Option C, cognitive dissonance. Option D, extinction. The correct answer is option B, transfer of learning. This describes transfer of learning because previous learning influences performance in a new but related situation. Negative punishment is not the best choice because it removes something desirable to reduce behavior. Cognitive dissonance is different because it involves discomfort from conflicting beliefs. Extinction does not fit because it reduces behavior when reinforcement stops. Question 43. Why would Ravi link a teacher gives a big picture concept map before a complex lesson begins to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, token economy. Option B, exit ticket. Option C, random assignment. Option D, advance organizer. The correct answer is option D, advance organizer. This describes advance organizer because a preview structure helps learners connect new information to prior knowledge. Token economy is not the best choice because it uses symbolic rewards. Exit ticket is different because it checks understanding at the end of a lesson. Random assignment does not fit because it places participants into groups by chance. Question 44. A practice item tells Ravi that a learner uses an existing mental framework about classrooms to understand a new teaching method. Which concept is most likely? Option A, schema. Option B, percentile rank. Option C, rubric. Option D, reinforcer. The correct answer is option A, schema. This describes schema because a schema is an organized knowledge structure used to interpret information. Percentile rank is not the best choice because it shows relative standing in a group. Rubric is different because it is a scoring guide. Reinforcer does not fit because it is a consequence that increases behavior. Question 45. Before answering, Ravi identifies that too many visuals, terms, and steps overwhelm a learner during a first lesson. Which term should be chosen? Option A, cognitive load. Option B, egocentrism. Option C, reliability. Option D, intrinsic motivation. The correct answer is option A, cognitive load. This describes cognitive load because working memory can become overloaded when too much information must be processed at once. Egocentrism is not the best choice because it means difficulty taking another viewpoint. Reliability is different because it concerns consistency of scores. Intrinsic motivation does not fit because it concerns interest and enjoyment. Question 46. Which choice helps Ravi explain why students build their own understanding through discussion, examples, and problem solving in a tutoring table? Option A, behaviorism. Option B, maturation. Option C, constructivism. Option D, standardization. The correct answer is option C, constructivism. This describes constructivism because learners actively construct meaning rather than simply receive information. Behaviorism is not the best choice because it emphasizes observable behavior and consequences. Maturation is different because it emphasizes biological growth. Standardization does not fit because it keeps procedures uniform. Question 47. How can Ravi classify a classroom moment where students investigate a question, gather evidence, and develop an explanation? Option A, norm-referenced assessment. Option B, inquiry-based learning. Option C, fixed ratio reinforcement. Option D, direct instruction. The correct answer is option B, inquiry-based learning. This describes inquiry-based learning because learning begins with questions and exploration rather than only direct telling. Norm-referenced assessment is not the best choice because it compares students to one another. Fixed ratio reinforcement is different because it rewards after a set number of responses. Direct instruction does not fit because it uses clear teacher-led explanation and guided practice. Question 48. Suppose Ravi observes that a teacher models a skill, guides practice, checks understanding, and gives feedback. Which concept is shown? Option A, discovery learning. Option B, portfolio assessment. Option C, peer tutoring. Option D, direct instruction. The correct answer is option D, direct instruction. This describes direct instruction because the method uses explicit teaching steps and structured practice. Discovery learning is not the best choice because it expects students to uncover ideas with less direct guidance. Portfolio assessment is different because it collects work over time. Peer tutoring does not fit because it uses students helping students. Question 49. While reviewing, Ravi sees students work in small groups with shared goals and individual accountability. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, competitive learning. Option B, lecture method. Option C, cooperative learning. Option D, independent study. The correct answer is option C, cooperative learning. This describes cooperative learning because learners collaborate while each member remains responsible for contributing. Competitive learning is not the best choice because it ranks students against one another. Lecture method is different because it centers on teacher presentation. Independent study does not fit because it relies on solo learning. Question 50. One interesting clue says a teacher adjusts tasks, materials, and support based on learner readiness. Which educational psychology term fits for Ravi? Option A, random sampling. Option B, differentiated instruction. Option C, summative assessment. Option D, standardized instruction. The correct answer is option B, differentiated instruction. This describes differentiated instruction because instruction is adapted to different needs while keeping meaningful learning goals. Random sampling is not the best choice because it selects participants for research. Summative assessment is different because it evaluates after instruction. Standardized instruction does not fit because it delivers the same approach to all students. Question 51. From this example, where a lesson offers text, audio, visuals, and different ways to show understanding from the start, which answer should Ravi select? Option A, tracking. Option B, accommodation only. Option C, universal design for learning. Option D, mastery grading. The correct answer is option C, universal design for learning. This describes universal design for learning because UDL plans flexible access and expression options before barriers appear. Tracking is not the best choice because it separates students into groups by perceived ability. Accommodation only is different because it changes access for an individual after a need is identified. Mastery grading does not fit because it focuses on reaching standards before moving ahead. Question 52. Students in an after-school class discuss why a teacher uses a quick exit question to adjust tomorrow's lesson. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, formative assessment. Option B, summative assessment. Option C, placement test. Option D, norm-referenced assessment. The correct answer is option A, formative assessment. This describes formative assessment because the assessment is used during learning to guide instruction and feedback. Summative assessment is not the best choice because it judges learning after instruction is complete. Placement test is different because it sorts students before instruction begins. Norm-referenced assessment does not fit because it compares performance to other learners. Question 53. Teachers in a student coaching session wonder why a final exam measures what students learned after the unit ends. Which principle applies? Option A, anecdotal record. Option B, diagnostic assessment. Option C, summative assessment. Option D, formative assessment. The correct answer is option C, summative assessment. This describes summative assessment because the assessment evaluates achievement at the end of a learning period. Anecdotal record is not the best choice because it is a brief observational note. Diagnostic assessment is different because it identifies starting strengths and needs. Formative assessment does not fit because it guides instruction during learning. Question 54. Can Ravi treat a student's score is judged against a fixed standard of mastery as evidence of which concept? Option A, informal observation. Option B, ipsative assessment. Option C, norm-referenced assessment. Option D, criterion-referenced assessment. The correct answer is option D, criterion-referenced assessment. This describes criterion-referenced assessment because performance is compared with defined criteria rather than other students. Informal observation is not the best choice because it is not necessarily tied to a fixed standard. Ipsative assessment is different because it compares a student to their own past performance. Norm-referenced assessment does not fit because it compares students to a reference group. Question 55. If Ravi must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a score report shows how a student performed compared with a national sample? Option A, authentic assessment. Option B, norm-referenced assessment. Option C, formative assessment. Option D, criterion-referenced assessment. The correct answer is option B, norm-referenced assessment. This describes norm-referenced assessment because the score is interpreted relative to other test takers. Authentic assessment is not the best choice because it uses real-world tasks. Formative assessment is different because it is used during learning for improvement. Criterion-referenced assessment does not fit because it compares performance to a standard. Question 56. Rather than guessing, Ravi should connect a test give similar results when the same skill is measured repeatedly with which concept? Option A, reliability. Option B, percentile rank. Option C, bias. Option D, validity. The correct answer is option A, reliability. This describes reliability because reliability means scores are consistent across time, items, or raters. Percentile rank is not the best choice because it reports relative standing. Bias is different because it concerns unfair advantage or disadvantage. Validity does not fit because it asks whether the test measures the intended construct. Question 57. Curiosity rises when Ravi reads that a math test actually measures math reasoning instead of reading speed. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, reliability. Option B, inter-rater agreement. Option C, validity. Option D, standard error. The correct answer is option C, validity. This describes validity because validity concerns whether an assessment measures what it claims to measure. Reliability is not the best choice because it concerns consistency, not meaning. Inter-rater agreement is different because it is one form of consistency between scorers. Standard error does not fit because it estimates score uncertainty. Question 58. A CLEP style scenario says all examines receive the same directions, timing, and scoring rules. Which answer best captures it for Ravi? Option A, standardized test. Option B, portfolio assessment. Option C, authentic assessment. Option D, informal assessment. The correct answer is option A, standardized test. This describes standardized test because standardization keeps testing conditions uniform so scores can be interpreted fairly. Portfolio assessment is not the best choice because it collects multiple pieces of work over time. Authentic assessment is different because it asks students to perform realistic tasks. Informal assessment does not fit because it may be flexible and teacher-made. Question 59. Inside a morning lesson, Ravi studies why students design a real classroom plan instead of only selecting answers on a test. Which concept fits? Option A, authentic assessment. Option B, standardized assessment. Option C, forced choice test. Option D, norm-referenced assessment. The correct answer is option A, authentic assessment. This describes authentic assessment because students demonstrate learning through realistic tasks and products. Standardized assessment is not the best choice because it uses uniform procedures and scoring. Forced choice test is different because it limits responses to provided options. Norm-referenced assessment does not fit because it compares performance to a group. Question 60. Looking at the clue that students receive a scoring guide describing levels for evidence, clarity, and accuracy, which idea should Ravi remember? Option A, syllabus. Option B, checklist. Option C, norm table. Option D, rubric. The correct answer is option D, rubric. This describes rubric because a rubric lists criteria and performance levels for judging work. Syllabus is not the best choice because it outlines course policies and topics. Checklist is different because it often marks whether elements are present without quality levels. Norm table does not fit because it helps interpret scores against a sample. Question 61. Ravi sees that a teacher moves students from remembering facts to evaluating arguments and creating projects during a tutoring table. Which concept best explains it? Option A, Maslow hierarchy. Option B, Erikson stages. Option C, Kohlberg stages. Option D, Bloom taxonomy. The correct answer is option D, Bloom taxonomy. This describes Bloom taxonomy because the taxonomy organizes cognitive tasks from lower to higher levels of thinking. Maslow hierarchy is not the best choice because it organizes human needs. Erikson stages is different because it describes psychosocial development. Kohlberg stages does not fit because it describes moral reasoning. Question 62. When Ravi notices that a student with a qualifying disability has a legal plan with goals and services in a classroom discussion, which idea is being tested? Option A, lesson plan. Option B, norming report. Option C, individualized education program. Option D, rubric. The correct answer is option C, individualized education program. This describes individualized education program because an IEP documents specialized instruction, supports, goals, and services for eligible students. Lesson plan is not the best choice because it guides a teacher's daily instruction but is not a special education legal document. Norming report is different because it summarizes comparison data. Rubric does not fit because it scores performance. Question 63. During a quick quiz review, Ravi studies a case where a student with a disability learns with non-disabled peers as much as appropriate. Which term fits best? Option A, standardization. Option B, retention. Option C, tracking. Option D, least restrictive environment. The correct answer is option D, least restrictive environment. This describes least restrictive environment because students should be educated in settings that provide access while avoiding unnecessary separation. Standardization is not the best choice because it keeps testing procedures uniform. Retention is different because it keeps a student in the same grade. Tracking does not fit because it groups students by perceived ability. Question 64. In a teacher training scenario, Ravi asks why a learner gets extended time while the learning target stays the same. Which answer names the idea? Option A, modification. Option B, punishment. Option C, acceleration. Option D, accommodation. The correct answer is option D, accommodation. This describes accommodation because access is adjusted without changing the essential learning expectation. Modification is not the best choice because it changes the learning expectation or task level. Punishment is different because it reduces unwanted behavior through consequences. Acceleration does not fit because it moves a learner ahead faster. Question 65. After reading that a learner completes a simplified assignment with different learning expectations, how should Ravi label the concept? Option A, modification. Option B, universal screening. Option C, accommodation. Option D, scaffolding. The correct answer is option A, modification. This describes modification because the task or standard is changed to fit the learner's instructional level. Universal screening is not the best choice because it checks all learners for risk. Accommodation is different because it changes access while keeping the same standard. Scaffolding does not fit because it gives temporary support toward the same goal. Question 66. For a short exam review, Ravi connects a strong thinker struggles with accurate word decoding and benefits from structured phonics with which principle? Option A, dyslexia support. Option B, behavior contract. Option C, dyscalculia support. Option D, percentile rank. The correct answer is option A, dyslexia support. This describes dyslexia support because dyslexia commonly affects word reading and decoding, so explicit structured literacy support can help. Behavior contract is not the best choice because it targets behavior goals. Dyscalculia support is different because it focuses on math-related difficulties. Percentile rank does not fit because it reports relative test standing. Question 67. Could a case where a learner focuses better with short tasks, movement breaks, and clear routines be an example of which concept for Ravi? Option A, gifted compacting. Option B, criterion testing. Option C, classical conditioning. Option D, ADHD classroom support. The correct answer is option D, ADHD classroom support. This describes ADHD classroom support because structured routines and attention supports can reduce distractions and support self-management. Gifted compacting is not the best choice because it removes already mastered work for advanced learners. Criterion testing is different because it compares performance to standards. Classical conditioning does not fit because it links stimuli with responses. Question 68. Why would Ravi link an advanced learner skips mastered work and uses time for deeper enrichment to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, retention. Option B, curriculum compacting. Option C, remediation. Option D, extinction. The correct answer is option B, curriculum compacting. This describes curriculum compacting because already mastered content is reduced so the learner can pursue more challenging work. Retention is not the best choice because it repeats a grade or course. Remediation is different because it retakes skills that are not yet mastered. Extinction does not fit because it removes reinforcement to reduce a behavior. Question 69. A practice item tells Ravi that examples, discussion norms, and materials connect learning to students' cultural backgrounds. Which concept is most likely? Option A, culturally responsive teaching. Option B, ability tracking. Option C, standardized testing. Option D, colorblind teaching. The correct answer is option A, culturally responsive teaching. This describes culturally responsive teaching because instruction uses students' cultural knowledge and experiences as assets for learning. Ability tracking is not the best choice because it separates students by perceived ability. Standardized testing is different because it keeps procedures uniform. Colorblind teaching does not fit because it ignores cultural differences rather than using them constructively. Question 70. Before answering, Ravi identifies that an assessment unfairly disadvantages a group because examples depend on unfamiliar cultural knowledge. Which term should be chosen? Option A, standard deviation. Option B, validity evidence. Option C, reliability. Option D, test bias. The correct answer is option D, test bias. This describes test bias because bias occurs when irrelevant factors give some groups an unfair advantage or disadvantage. Standard deviation is not the best choice because it describes score spread. Validity evidence is different because it supports appropriate score interpretation. Reliability does not fit because it concerns score consistency. Question 71. Which choice helps Ravi explain why students transition quickly because procedures for materials and movement are practiced daily in a bright review class? Option A, accommodation. Option B, classroom routines. Option C, summative testing. Option D, random reinforcement. The correct answer is option B, classroom routines. This describes classroom routines because clear repeated procedures reduce confusion and support orderly learning time. Accommodation is not the best choice because it adjusts access for a learner. Summative testing is different because it evaluates final achievement. Random reinforcement does not fit because it gives rewards unpredictably. Question 72. How can Ravi classify a classroom moment where students earn points for target behaviors and trade them for privileges? Option A, logical consequence. Option B, token economy. Option C, classical conditioning. Option D, mastery learning. The correct answer is option B, token economy. This describes token economy because tokens serve as conditioned reinforcers that can be exchanged for backup rewards. Logical consequence is not the best choice because it is connected naturally to misbehavior. Classical conditioning is different because it links two stimuli rather than using exchangeable rewards. Mastery learning does not fit because it requires meeting standards before moving forward. Question 73. Suppose Ravi observes that a student who misuses lab materials must repair the setup and review safety steps. Which concept is shown? Option A, logical consequence. Option B, negative reinforcement. Option C, unrelated punishment. Option D, extinction. The correct answer is option A, logical consequence. This describes logical consequence because the consequence is related to the behavior and helps restore responsible action. Negative reinforcement is not the best choice because it increases behavior by removing an unpleasant condition. Unrelated punishment is different because it does not connect meaningfully to the behavior. Extinction does not fit because it withholds reinforcement to reduce behavior. Question 74. While reviewing, Ravi sees a teacher spot small off-task behavior early while continuing the lesson smoothly. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, scaffolding. Option B, self-efficacy. Option C, witness. Option D, wait time. The correct answer is option C, witness. This describes witness because witness means awareness of classroom events and quick response before problems grow. Scaffolding is not the best choice because it gives temporary learning support. Self-efficacy is different because it is belief in capability. Wait time does not fit because it is a pause after asking a question. Question 75. One interesting clue says a teacher pauses several seconds after asking a question before calling on anyone. Which educational psychology term fits for Ravi? Option A, response cost. Option B, distributed practice. Option C, witness. Option D, wait time. The correct answer is option D, wait time. This describes wait time because wait time gives students more processing time and often improves response quality. Response cost is not the best choice because it removes a privilege after behavior. Distributed practice is different because it spreads study sessions over time. Witness does not fit because it is awareness of classroom behavior. Question 76. From this example, where a prompt asks students to explain several possible reasons instead of choosing one fact, which answer should Ravi select? Option A, recall cue. Option B, open-ended questioning. Option C, closed question. Option D, fixed ratio schedule. The correct answer is option B. Open-ended questioning. This describes open-ended questioning because open-ended questions invite elaboration, reasoning, and multiple defensible responses. Recall cue is not the best choice because it simply prompts memory of stored information. Closed question is different because it usually has one brief answer. Fixed ratio schedule does not fit because it reinforces after a set number of responses. Question 77. Students in a classroom discussion discuss why a teacher tells a learner exactly what worked and what to revise next. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, summative grade only. Option B, random correction. Option C, effective feedback. Option D, general praise. The correct answer is option C. Effective feedback. This describes effective feedback because specific, timely feedback helps learners close the gap between current and desired performance. Summative grade only is not the best choice because it reports performance without next steps. Random correction is different because it lacks targeted connection to the learning goal. General praise does not fit because it may feel positive but gives little guidance. Question 78. Teachers in a quick quiz review wonder why a student sets a goal, monitors progress, changes strategies, and reflects after studying. Which principle applies? Option A, operant conditioning. Option B, self-regulated learning. Option C, object permanence. Option D, social facilitation. The correct answer is option B. Self-regulated learning. This describes self-regulated learning because learners actively plan, monitor, control, and evaluate their learning. Operant conditioning is not the best choice because it emphasizes consequences shaping behavior. Object permanence is different because it concerns infant understanding of hidden objects. Social facilitation does not fit because it concerns performance changes in the presence of others. Question 79. Can Ravi treat students take turns summarizing, questioning, clarifying, and predicting during reading as evidence of which concept? Option A, direct instruction. Option B, token economy. Option C, reciprocal teaching. Option D, random assignment. The correct answer is option C. Reciprocal teaching. This describes reciprocal teaching because the strategy uses structured dialogue to improve comprehension. Direct instruction is not the best choice because it is mainly teacher-led explanation and practice. Token economy is different because it uses symbolic rewards. Random assignment does not fit because it assigns participants to groups by chance. Question 80. If Ravi must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when one student guides another through practice while both receive learning benefits? Option A, peer tutoring. Option B, lecture. Option C, portfolio assessment. Option D, tracking. The correct answer is option A. Peer tutoring. This describes peer tutoring because students support each other's learning through structured helper-learner roles. Lecture is not the best choice because it is teacher presentation to a group. Portfolio assessment is different because it collects work samples over time. Tracking does not fit because it separates students into ability groups. Question 81. Rather than guessing, Ravi should connect a child identifies that cat and cup begin with the same spoken sound with which concept? Option A, morphology. Option B, phonemic awareness. Option C, phonics. Option D, syntax. The correct answer is option B. Phonemic awareness. This describes phonemic awareness because the learner is attending to individual sounds in spoken language. Morphology is not the best choice because it studies meaningful word parts. Phonics is different because it links sounds to printed letters. Syntax does not fit because it concerns sentence structure. Question 82. Curiosity rises when Ravi reads that a learner improves a skill after watching a confident model demonstrate each step. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, Maslow needs. Option B, Piaget conservation. Option C, Bandura modeling. Option D, Skinner shaping. The correct answer is option C, Bandura modeling. This describes Bandura modeling because Bandura emphasized learning by observing models and the outcomes of their actions. Maslow needs is not the best choice because it explains motivation through layered needs. Piaget conservation is different because it concerns logical understanding of quantity. Skinner shaping does not fit because it reinforces gradual behavior changes through consequences. Question 83. A CLEP style scenario says family, school, peers, community, and culture all shape a child's development. Which answer best captures it for Ravi? Option A, information processing. Option B, Brenner ecological systems. Option C, Kohlberg moral stages. Option D, Erikson psychosocial stages. The correct answer is option B, Brenner ecological systems. This describes Brenner ecological systems because development is influenced by nested environmental systems around a child. Information processing is not the best choice because it compares thinking to mental processing systems. Kohlberg moral stages is different because it focuses on moral reasoning. Erikson psychosocial stages does not fit because it focuses on lifespan social emotional conflicts. Question 84. Inside a mini lecture, Ravi studies why a young child uses a caregiver as a safe base and seeks comfort after stress. Which concept fits? Option A, avoidant attachment. Option B, secure attachment. Option C, authoritarian parenting. Option D, industry versus inferiority. The correct answer is option B, secure attachment. This describes secure attachment because secure attachment involves trust in caregiver availability and comfort. Avoidant attachment is not the best choice because it shows reduced seeking of comfort. Authoritarian parenting is different because it describes strict parenting style. Industry versus inferiority does not fit because it is a school-age psychosocial conflict. Question 85. Looking at the clue that two infants differ early in activity level, mood, and adaptability, which idea should Ravi remember? Option A, moral reasoning. Option B, criterion validity. Option C, self-concept. Option D, temperament. The correct answer is option D, temperament. This describes temperament because temperament refers to biologically influenced patterns of emotional and behavioral response. Moral reasoning is not the best choice because it concerns judgments about right and wrong. Criterion validity is different because it links test scores to an outcome. Self-concept does not fit because it is a person's view of self. Question 86. Ravi sees that a child says "good" because a regular grammar rule is applied too broadly during a bright review class. Which concept best explains it? Option A, language overgeneralization. Option B, telegraphic speech. Option C, code switching. Option D, babbling. The correct answer is option A, language overgeneralization. This describes language overgeneralization because the child applies a learned language rule to an irregular case. Telegraphic speech is not the best choice because it uses short two-word phrases. Code switching is different because it shifts language varieties based on context. Babbling does not fit because it is early sound play. Question 87. When Ravi notices that students explain whether a character should break a rule to help someone in need in a quiet study group, which idea is being tested? Option A, achievement test. Option B, behavior checklist. Option C, aptitude test. Option D, moral dilemma assessment. The correct answer is option D, moral dilemma assessment. This describes moral dilemma assessment because moral dilemmas reveal the reasoning behind judgments, not just the choice itself. Achievement test is not the best choice because it measures learned academic content. Behavior checklist is different because it records observed behaviors. Aptitude test does not fit because it predicts future learning potential. Question 88. During an online prep session, Ravi studies a case where a study finds that homework time and test scores rise together without proving cause. Which term fits best? Option A, correlational research. Option B, case study. Option C, ethnography. Option D, experimental research. The correct answer is option A, correlational research. This describes correlational research because correlation shows a relationship between variables but does not establish causation. Case study is not the best choice because it examines one person or small group deeply. Ethnography is different because it studies culture through immersion. Experimental research does not fit because it manipulates variables to test cause and effect. Question 89. In a morning lesson, Ravi asks why participants are placed into tutoring or no tutoring groups by chance. Which answer names the idea? Option A, matching. Option B, convenience sampling. Option C, random assignment. Option D, random sampling. The correct answer is option C, random assignment. This describes random assignment because chance placement helps make groups similar before the treatment begins. Matching is not the best choice because it pairs participants on key traits. Convenience sampling is different because it uses whoever is easily available. Random sampling does not fit because it selects participants from a population. Question 90. After reading that a researcher changes the type of feedback students receive, how should Ravi label the concept? Option A, control variable. Option B, dependent variable. Option C, confounding variable. Option D, independent variable. The correct answer is option D, independent variable. This describes independent variable because the independent variable is the factor the researcher manipulates. Control variable is not the best choice because it is held constant. Dependent variable is different because it is the measured outcome. Confounding variable does not fit because it is an unwanted factor that may affect results. Question 91. For a short exam review, Ravi connects a researcher measures quiz scores after using two different teaching methods with which principle? Option A, independent variable. Option B, dependent variable. Option C, random assignment. Option D, extraneous variable. The correct answer is option B, dependent variable. This describes dependent variable because the dependent variable is the outcome measured to see whether the treatment had an effect. Independent variable is not the best choice because it is the factor manipulated. Random assignment is different because it is a grouping procedure. Extraneous variable does not fit because it is an outside influence. Question 92. Could a case where one group receives regular instruction while another receives a new memory strategy be an example of which concept for Ravi? Option A, control group. Option B, population. Option C, sample. Option D, experimental group. The correct answer is option A, control group. This describes control group because the control group provides a comparison for judging the effect of the treatment. Population is not the best choice because it is the larger group of interest. Sample is different because it is the set of participants studied. Experimental group does not fit because it receives the treatment being tested. Question 93. Why would Ravi link a teacher adds all quiz scores and divides by the number of students to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, mode. Option B, mean. Option C, range. Option D, median. The correct answer is option B, mean. This describes mean because the mean is the arithmetic average of a set of scores. Mode is not the best choice because it is the most frequent score. Range is different because it is the difference between highest and lowest scores. Median does not fit because it is the middle score. Question 94. A practice item tells Ravi that a teacher wants to know how spread out the class scores are around the average. Which concept is most likely? Option A, mean. Option B, standard deviation. Option C, raw score. Option D, percentile rank. The correct answer is option B. Standard deviation. This describes standard deviation because standard deviation describes typical distance of scores from the mean. Mean is not the best choice because it gives the average but not spread. Raw score is different because it is the number of points earned. Percentile rank does not fit because it shows relative standing. Question 95. Before answering, Ravi identifies that a student's report says the score is higher than the scores of 80% of the norm group. Which term should be chosen? Option A, standard deviation. Option B, percentile rank. Option C, percentage correct. Option D, grade equivalent. The correct answer is option B. Percentile rank. This describes percentile rank because percentile rank tells the percentage of comparison scores at or below a student's score. Standard deviation is not the best choice because it describes score spread. Percentage correct is different because it reports items answered correctly. Grade equivalent does not fit because it estimates grade level performance, often imperfectly. Question 96. Which choice helps Ravi explain why students improve? Partly because they know they are being studied in a learning lab. Option A, observer bias. Option B, placebo effect. Option C, Hawthorne effect. Option D, testing effect. The correct answer is option C. Hawthorne effect. This describes Hawthorne effect because participants may change behavior simply because they are receiving attention in a study. Observer bias is not the best choice because it occurs when researcher expectations shape recording. Placebo effect is different because it involves improvement from belief in a treatment. Testing effect does not fit because it improves learning through retrieval practice. Question 97. How can Ravi classify a classroom moment where students improve over a semester because they naturally grew older, not because of the program? Option A, selection bias. Option B, maturation threat. Option C, regression to the mean. Option D, instrumentation threat. The correct answer is option B. Maturation threat. This describes maturation threat because changes due to natural development can threaten conclusions about a treatment's effect. Selection bias is not the best choice because it occurs when groups differ before a treatment. Regression to the mean is different because it occurs when extreme scores move closer to average later. Instrumentation threat does not fit because it occurs when measurement changes over time. Question 98. Suppose Ravi observes that a researcher records detailed notes about classroom interactions instead of only counting scores. Which concept is shown? Option A, random assignment. Option B, meta-analysis. Option C, standardized testing. Option D, qualitative observation. The correct answer is option D. Qualitative observation. This describes qualitative observation because qualitative methods focus on rich descriptions and meanings in context. Random assignment is not the best choice because it places participants into groups by chance. Meta-analysis is different because it statistically combines many studies. Standardized testing does not fit because it uses uniform measurement procedures. Question 99. While reviewing, Ravi sees a teacher studies the effect of a new discussion routine in the teacher's own classroom. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, laboratory experiment. Option B, longitudinal research. Option C, action research. Option D, survey research. The correct answer is option C. Action research. This describes action research because practitioners investigate their own settings to improve local practice. Laboratory experiment is not the best choice because it tests variables in a controlled setting. Longitudinal research is different because it follows participants over time. Survey research does not fit because it gathers responses from questionnaires. Question 100. One interesting clue says families are told the study purpose, risks, and rights before agreeing to participate. Which educational psychology term fits for Ravi? Option A, confidentiality. Option B, debriefing. Option C, informed consent. Option D, random assignment. The correct answer is option C, informed consent. This describes informed consent because participants or guardians must understand key information and voluntarily agree. Confidentiality is not the best choice because it protects private data. Debriefing is different because it explains details after participation. Random assignment does not fit because it assigns participants to groups by chance.